Today I'm going to talk about my favorite game mechanism in Ohm, but before I do that I want to thank Douglas Morse who put together the Wizards of the Tabletop book, in which me and many other designers and people in the industry are featured in these beautiful photos and write-ups about our work. I actually flipped right to my page, so I can show you what my page looks like. This is a photo I took at my first Gen Con like 5 years ago, and then a write-up about Euphoria. It's a beautiful book. I'm going to link to a place below where you can buy it if you want. If not, I'll show you my copy if you ever visit the Stonemaier headquarters. Ohm, I want to talk about Ohm. This is a Euro game I played for the first time the other day, and Ohm has some really interesting mechanisms in it that I wanted to mention. The first, I'll get to my favorite in a second, but I can't not mention the really innovative action system, which you can kind of see here. See these little tiles down here? Whenever you take your turn, you take a tile from your hand. You always draw a tile, so you always have at least one. And you put it somewhere on this mat over here, and you push all the tiles that were on that mat forward, and all 3 tiles that remain on that mat after you do the pushing are the tiles or the actions you get to take. So it's a very abstract mechanism, but it's also pretty interesting. I love innovative action mechanisms that go beyond action checklists, as you know I've talked about on this channel before. So even if it's an abstract action selection mechanism, I'm in for it, and it provided an interesting puzzle, some interesting decisions. I like that. But the mechanism that I really want to talk about is actually a very simple one, but I thought it was very clever. Like, they could have not done this, and they did it, and it really elevated the game. And I'd like to see this in other games too. A little backstory with Viticulture. The first version of Viticulture I made had a bunch of cards that were either good early in the game or late in the game, and it was frustrating for players because it's a blind draw when you draw a visitor card in Viticulture. And so you might, late in the game, you might draw something that would have been good early in the game, or early in the game you draw something that's good for late in the game, and maybe you hang on to it, but maybe you don't. Cause some problems. So with later versions of Viticulture, we balance the cards so that almost every card has 2 options, one that's good early, one that's good late. And so I really, really like that. It's something I learned as a designer. This designer of Ohm jumped right in and did it right out of the gate with these really interesting cards. You can see them in the thumbnail of this video, but I'll also show it here for a second. As you can see on these sample cards, which actually form a nice panorama, each card that you draw has, and you don't always draw, you have to take an action to draw a card. When you play it, which is also limited, you can't play more than 1 per turn unless you do something special, each card has something good that can happen right away to help you either score points, or it'll help your engine, help you progress in the game, or you can hang on to the card and get end-game points for it. So like with this one, you can kind of see the dividing line. So there's something that happens good up here, or at the bottom, it says at the end of the game, if you have 1 piece of the cathedral, you get 3 points. But if you have a full cathedral, as you can see here, they have the full cathedral, all 3 cards with the cathedral, you get 18 points. So these cards provide, I don't know, they're nice and balanced in that way, because they're at some point in the game you will have utility for these cards. But it also provides an interesting decision. Do I use the card now to get some points for sure, or help my engine, help my progression, or do I hang on to it in the hopes of getting a whopping 18 points at the end of the game? I really, really like that. So I think this is kind of a lesson for all designers. If you have any type of random card draw in a game, make sure the cards work early in the game and late in the game, and this is a very elegant and streamlined way of doing it. I really, really like that. So yeah, Ohm, that's my favorite mechanism. If you have a favorite mechanism in Ohm that you'd like to mention, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Or if you have a game that has a blind draw with cards, a game that you really love, and the game does a good job of making those cards useful early or late in the game, throughout the game, I'd love to hear about how that game does it in the comments. Thank you.